Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Make Studies Easy. So, in this video, we'll be doing the P1 questions of the periodic table, the chapter of chemistry periodic table. So, this is the app called as Rove Papers. You can download it and get the past papers. The periodic table. The diagram shows the arrangements of the electrons of four elements: element 1, element 2, element 3, and element 4. Which two elements are metals? Okay, so in the first element 1, we have 1, 2, 3. Three electrons and one valence electron. Then in element 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. 7 electrons with being 5 valence electron. Then we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In element 3, we have 12 electrons with being 2 the valence electrons. Element 4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15. In element 4, we have 15 electrons, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 electrons as the valence electrons. So what do you think is now which two of the elements are metals? I think it's 1 and 3. What do you guys think? Let's see the answer. Okay, it's B. Yes, so it's 1 and 3. So you have to, firstly, I'll not be showing the answer first. First, we'll be discussing what the question means, and then I'll be showing you the answer. But you have to, when I'll be explaining the question, so you have to put it in your mind that I think this is, and then check that is it correct or not. I think that's the best method. Okay. Question number 2. Two elements are in the same group of the periodic table. Which property will be same for both elements? The charge on their ions, their electronic structure, their melting point, their reactivity with water or acids. Two elements are in the same group of the periodic table. Group. We have discussed it in our video. In the same group of the periodic table, which property will be the same for both elements? The charge on their ions, their electronic structure, their melting point, or their reactivity with water or acids. Okay, so it's A, the charge on their ions. Element Z has the following properties. It has a high melting point, and its presence can lower the activation energy for a reaction. Which type of element is Z? A halogen, an alkali metal, a noble gas, or a transition metal? I think yes, it's correct. It's a metal, because you can see that it has a high melting point and its presence can lower the activation energy for a reaction. Moving on. Use the periodic table to decide which element has all four of the properties shown: high melting point, variable oxidation states, good electrical conductivity, forms colored compounds: cesium, cobalt, iodine, or strontium. It's cobalt. Question number 5. Sodium, aluminium, and sulfur are in the same period of the periodic table. Which trend in types of oxide occurs across this period? Left to right: acidic, atmospheric, basic. In B, atmospheric, basic, acidic, basic, acidic, atmospheric, basic, atmospheric, acidic. I think it's D. Yes, correct. It's basic. From left to right is basic, atmospheric, and then acidic. Moving on. Question number 6. Chlorine, bromine, and iodine are elements in group 7 of the periodic table. Describe how which are the halogens. Describe how you would carry. It's P2 question, I think. Yes, it is P2 question. We'll be only doing P1 questions in this video. The diagram shows the arrangement of electrons in a molecule of compound YZ2. So, what are elements Y and Z? Firstly, we have to say they are. Can it be calcium and chlorine, carbon or oxygen, oxygen or hydrogen, sulfur and chlorine? So firstly, we'll see their outer electron of Y atom. The Y atom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What do you think it is? Calcium or chlorine, or sulfur or chlorine? Okay, it's D, sulfur and chlorine. By having 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we got to know that it is chlorine. Now the thing which we have to do, but in you'll be provided with the periodic table if you're in O levels, so, or IGCSE, you will be provided with the periodic table, so it would be easy for you to do. But the other students would have to learn the number. But chlorine has 7, so we got to know that 7, so Z is chlorine, and Y have 1, 2, 3, 5, so it's sulfur. Moving on. Many properties of an element and its compounds can be predicted from the position of the element in the periodic table. What property could not be predicted in this way? The acidic or basic nature of its oxide, the formula of its oxide, the number of isotopes it has, its metallic or non-metallic properties. C. Yes, that's correct. The number of isotopes it has. Moving on. Okay, I can just show. It's C. This is again a P2 question. The element with the proton number 12 has similar chemical properties to the element with the proton number. What? The element with a proton number 12 has similar chemical properties to the element with the proton number. So, 2, 11, 13 or 20. It's D, 20. Element X and Y are in group 7 of the periodic table. X is a liquid at room temperature, Y is a solid at room temperature. Atoms of Y have more protons than atoms of X. Molecules of Y have more atoms than molecules of X. Y displaces X more aqueous solutions of X ions. I think it's one, only one. Yes, it's correct. It's A. Question 11A. Then this P2 question. Element X is a solid at room temperature. It needs 1 electron per atom to gain the electronic structure of a noble gas. It is the least reactive element in its group. What is the element X? It's A. That's AT. Then a lump of element X can be cut by a knife. During its reaction with water, X floats and melts. What is X? Calcium, copper, magnesium, potassium. D. Potassium. Element R reacts with oxygen to form a gas T. T changes the color of damp litmus paper from blue to red. T is used to kill bacteria. Okay, so it is element R reacts with oxygen to form a gas T. T changes the color of damp litmus paper from blue to red. T is used to kill bacteria in the preservation of dried fruit. What is R? I think carbon, chlorine, nitrogen and sulfur. I think it's sulfur. What do you guys think? Let's see the answer. Yes, it's D, sulfur. Question number 17. Okay, question number 17. The positions of 4 elements are shown on the outline of part of the periodic table. Element X has a melting point and is a good conductor of electricity. It forms chlorides XCl2 and XCl3. Which element is X? Like, it's at a high melting point and a good conductor. That's metal, so I think it's C. What do you guys think? Yes, it's correct. It's C. Why is nickel used in the hydrogenation of alkenes? It increases the yield of products. It lowers the activation energy of the reaction. It makes the reaction more exothermic. It prevents a reverse reaction from occurring. B. It lowers the activation energy of the reaction. The 3 elements X, Y and Z have consecutive increasing proton numbers. If element X is a noble gas, what will be the symbol for the ions of element Z in its compounds? Z2 plus? Correct. C. Which deduction about the element astatine, that was AT was astatine. Which deduction about the element astatine can be made from its position in group 7? It is a gas. It is more reactive than iodine. It is displayed from aqueous potassium acetate by chlorine. It forms a covalent compound with sodium. B. It is displayed from aqueous potassium acetate by chlorine. Question number 21. This is a P2. Question number 22. Rubidium is in group 1 and bromine is in group 7 of the periodic table. How is a compound formed between rubidium and bromine? Each atom of bromine shares an electron with an atom of rubidium. Each atom of bromine shares a pair of electrons with an atom of rubidium. Each atom of bromine gives an electron to an atom of rubidium. Each atom of bromine receives an electron from an atom of rubidium. For this, we would need the to know the the number, the proton number and the atomic number to do this, and then we'll get to know that how it would be together. Like, if the answer is each atom of bromine receives an electron from an atom of rubidium. This is again a question of B2. Okay. Question number 25. Rubidium is in group 1 of the periodic table. What properties are of rubidium chloride? Rubidium chloride. It is insoluble or soluble in water. It's soluble in water, and the approximate melting point is 700 degrees Celsius. It's B. Then it is in the periodic table, how many periods are needed to accommodate the elements of atomic number 1 to 18? 3. Okay, we have done this, I think. I think we have done it. Yes, but that was a different question, I think. Sodium, aluminum, and sulfur are in the same period of the periodic table. Which trend in types of oxide occurs across the period? We know that it's from basic, atmospheric, and acidic. Yes, it's D. Which pair of properties are both correct for the typical transition element? Property 1 forms colored compounds soluble in water, high density. It is in which pair of properties are both correct for typical transition metal? It's a transition metal. So it's B, high density and has variable oxidation states. In which compound does the element X has the highest oxidation state? X2O, X2O, X4O, XO2, XO4. D, XO4. Rubidium. Rubidium is an element in group 1 of the periodic table. Which statement about rubidium is correct? It reacts slowly with water. It forms an insoluble hydroxide. It is liberated at the cathode during the electrolysis of an aqueous solution of its chloride. It forms a sulfate. D. It forms a sulfate. The table shows most of the properties of 4 elements. Which element is most likely to be a transition element? B, maybe. Yes, it's B. 1860 is the melting point, 7.2 is the density, and it's a good electrical conductor. The element sulfur is in group 6 of the periodic table. Which formula is incorrect? S2 minus, S2O3, I think it's B. Yes, it's B. S2O3. Which element will burn in oxygen to form an acidic oxide? Which element will burn in oxygen to form an acidic oxide? Calcium, carbon, iron, magnesium. B. Carbon. Question number 39. Which property would all the hydrogen compounds of group 7 elements possess? Be covalent, be solid at room temperature, form alkaline aqueous solutions, conduct electricity when molten. It's be covalent. Then it's question number 42. Which observation is typical of a solid non-metal element? It reacts vigorously with chlorine. It conducts electricity. The question is, which observation is typical of a solid non-metal element? It conducts electricity. It has more than one oxidation state. It forms an acidic oxide. Correct. It forms an acidic oxide. A metal X is in group 1 of the periodic table would be expected to form a nitrate of formula NO3, bracket close to, form an acidic oxide, form an insoluble chloride, produce hydrogen from cold water. Correct. Produce hydrogen from cold water. X and Y are diatomic elements. X is less reactive than Y. Which elements are X and Y? Chlorine and iodine, fluorine and nitrogen, iodine and bromine, oxygen and nitrogen. C. Iodine and bromine. Sulfur and selenium are in the same group of the periodic table. From this, we would expect selenium to form compounds having the formula C. SeO2, because we know it's going to be O2, so it's B over C. Then it's Na2Se, same. BC are same till here. Then it is Na2SeO4. So thus it's C. In the periodic table, how many periods include the element of atomic numbers 1 to 18? I think it's repeated. It's 3. B. Yes. Moving further. Element Z is in group 5, in 6, sorry, element Z is in group 6 of the periodic table. Which formula is incorrect? B. Lithium and rubidium are both in group 1 of the periodic table. Which statement is correct? Lithium atoms and rubidium atoms have the same number of electrons in the outer shell. Lithium atoms are larger than rubidium ions. Lithium ions and rubidium ions have the same number of electrons in the outer shell. Rubidium ions are larger than rubidium atoms. It's A. Lithium atoms and rubidium atoms have the same number of electrons in their outer shell. Which is the property of aqueous potassium iodide? It does not conduct electricity. Is a purple solution. It is decolorized by chlorine. It reacts with aqueous bromine to form iodine. Correct. It reacts with aqueous bromine to form iodine. Why is nickel used in the addition of hydrogen to alkenes? I think it's okay. It's alkenes. We have done this again. Why is nickel used in the addition of hydrogen and alkenes? This question is repeated. Yes, it's repeated. Then we have cesium is an element in group 1 of the periodic table. Which statements about cesium are true? Cesium conducts electricity both when solid and when molten. Cesium reacts explosively with water. Cesium reacts with water and forms a solution of pH 7. A. 1 and 2 only. Then, elements with the code letters Q and R occupy the positions shown in the outline of the periodic table. What is the formula of the compound formed between them? It's Q3R2. If we see their original positions in the periodic table, so we'll get to know. Carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide are both absorbed by sodium hydroxide, colorless, inflammable in air, lighter than air. So, the question is carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide are both absorbed by sodium hydroxide, colorless, inflammable in air and lighter than air. It's colorless. The diagram shows part of the periodic table. Which pair of letters represents elements that are in the same period? Same period. We know this. Groups are vertical and periods are horizontal. So it's R and S. I think it's the same question. Yes, it's the same question. Moving on. Which row shows the correct number of protons and electrons in the ion of an element in group 2 of the periodic table? B. 12 protons and 10 electrons. Which element is sodium? Now we'll get to know it. This is something we'll have to look at by doing the periodic table. It's D. 98 melting point, and it's a good conductor, and its density is 0.97. Then the diagram shows the structure of the covalent compound containing the element hydrogen and the unknown element X, Y, and Z. To which group of periodic table do these three elements X, Y, and Z belong? 4. Okay, so how we'll do it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is C. 4X, 6Y, and 5Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, moving on. Which pair of elements, when combined together, do not form a covalent compound? Cesium and fluorine, nitrogen and chlorine, phosphorus and fluorine, sulfur and chlorine. So I'll be putting on these covalent ions and all this ionic and all, so it would be more clear to you. Cesium and fluorine. Which element is sodium? We have done it. It's D. Yes. Which set of the electronic structures are only found in metals? A. They have the it's A. Then which row shows the correct number of protons and electrons in the ion of the element in group 2 of the periodic table? B. This question is repeated. Using the apparatus shown, chlorine is passed through the tube. After a short time, colored substances are seen at Q at P, Q, and R, what are these colored substances? At P, it's a green gas, red brown vapor, violet paper. At Q, it's violet paper, it's violet paper, but it's a red brown paper, violet paper, or red brown paper. Then we know it's gonna be B or C. So then we have to, sorry, yeah, we got to know here at first at P that it's gonna be it's gonna be C. That's correct. But then when we move at Q, so it's B and C both are violet, so we'll go with C. And at R, same, black solid, so it's C. Which pair of elements, when combined together, do not form a covalent compound? Cesium and fluorine. And it's repeated. Okay, that's it. Okay, there are more questions. Okay, so carbon and silicon are both in group 6 of the periodic table, which it's a repeated question. Okay, okay, that's the last question we can do, and then that's it for today. Which reduction about the element astatine can be made from position in group 7? I think we've also done it, but it is C. It is displaced from aqueous potassium acetate by chlorine. So that is it for today, and thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, so do like it, and if you have learned something, so do like it, and moreover do comment, and for more such videos subscribe to the channel. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching the video.